Nathan Carter was closing yet another multi-million-dollar deal. Flashes from photographers reflecting on the glass walls of his Manhattan skyscraper to the world. He was untouchable, but deep inside, he carried a void that not even billions could fill. Across town in a modest neighborhood, Emily Brooks was tucking Jack into bed. At only 7 years old, he was already asking hard questions. "Mom, why don't I have a dad?" Emily stood at the window, wrapping both hands around her mug of tea. The answer to Jack's question was locked in a drawer, filled with old letters and in the name she had promised never to say out loud again. Nathan Carter. 7 years ago, she had walked away from Nathan without explanation. She was pregnant, scared, heartbroken. All she had were her values and the fear of being crushed by his world. She tried to forget him, raised Jack with love and courage, but the boy had Nathan's intense gaze, the same frown when concentrating. The Carter blood ran strong, and Emily knew she couldn't hide it much longer. That night, Jack found an old photo at the bottom of a box. A man in a suit smiling beside a younger Emily. "Who's this, Mom?" Emily froze. It was the last photo she had of her and Nathan. Together, meanwhile, Nathan was having dinner, alone in his luxurious penthouse, staring at an empty photo frame on the mantel, where a picture of Emily once stood. There was now only space and silence. He had tried to forget her, buried his feelings under contracts, trips and success, but nothing filled the what if. What if she had stayed? What if he hadn't been so proud? That same night, destiny began to move. Nathan received an anonymous email. No message, just a photo. Jack smiling in front of a school. The same smile Nathan once saw in the mirror years ago. He zoomed in with trembling hands. The boy's eyes were his. The only thing Nathan managed to whisper was, "This can't be real." Nathan couldn't sleep that night. The image of the boy haunted him. Those eyes, there was no denying it. They said something words couldn't. "He is your son." He spent hours scouring the internet. The school in the photo was in a modest Brooklyn neighborhood, a place he'd never imagined Emily living in. But now it all made sense. Or almost for the first time in years. Nathan acted on impulse. He grabbed his car keys, went down to the building's garage, and left before sunrise. No bodyguards. No destination, just hope guiding him. Emily woke early as always. She packed Jack's lunch while he still slept. But her heart was uneasy since he found that photo. It was like time was circling back, asking for answers when Jack woke up. He rushed to the kitchen, holding the photo in both hands. "I dreamed about him, Mom." "We were playing soccer," Emily smiled. But her eyes welled up. Maybe one day that dream could come true. She whispered while she walked Jack to school. Nathan parked across the street. He stayed in the car, watching from a distance. When he saw Emily holding the boy's hand, he froze. It was her. It was him. It was them. Time seemed to stop. Emily, unaware, glanced toward Nathan's car. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Her heart skipped a beat, but she shook it off. No, it can't be. Nathan didn't get out, not yet. That image, mother and son together, was too beautiful to interrupt with explanations or late truths. He needed to understand more before acting. Back at his office, he called a trusted private investigator. Find everything about Emily Brooks. Where she lives, who she talks to, and if that boy is really my son. The detective simply nodded. Nathan knew the truth was near. That night, Emily felt something in the air. Like the past had walked right by her on the sidewalk and left an invisible trace. Something was changing, and deep down, she knew Nathan was back. Cole Rivers was known for leaving no loose ends. When Nathan handed him that single photo and said, I need the truth no matter the cost." He knew this wasn't just another job. It was a life on the verge of changing. Cole started with the basics. He found Emily's address easily. Her record was clean, no scandals, no lawsuits, just a woman who worked hard and lived for her son. But there was something else. A 7-year gap between her breakup with Nathan and Jack's birth. Nathan spent his days restless. He stared at Jack's picture, as if trying to pull answers from it. Why didn't she tell me? Why did she leave without a word? On the other side of the city, Emily sensed the atmosphere shifting. A feeling of being watched crept in. She started closing the curtains earlier. Jack didn't notice, but Emily saw strange cars parked near the school. Paranoia or fate getting closer. One afternoon, as she picked up Jack, she saw a man in a dark suit talking to the school principal. When he noticed her watching, he smiled politely and walked away. It was Cole, and now he knew more than she could imagine. Nathan received the final report on a quiet night. Each page weighed like iron. Photos of Emily's home Jack school. Their modest routine full of love, a life he had never known. At the end of the dossier, one sentence stood out. The boy was born exactly 9 months after your breakup. Nathan felt the world spin. He was right, Jack was his son. But this wasn't relief, it was pain and guilt. He had missed the first steps, first words, birthdays. 7 years gone across the city. Emily tucked Jack into bed. He asked for a story as always. And she told the same one. A boy born from a love so big the world couldn't understand it. But one day everything would find its way again. After he fell asleep, Emily opened the old memory box. Photos, letters. One crumpled note Nathan had written the day she left. She'd never had the courage to throw it away. "If you ever change your mind, come find me, I'll still be here." The next morning, Cole knocked on Nathan's door. "She doesn't know, you know. Will you tell her, or should I?" Nathan took a deep breath. Eyes glassy, "I will. She deserves to hear it from me. And I need to see my son. It was an ordinary afternoon." Emily had left work early to pick up Jack and make a quick stop at the grocery store. She was distracted, mentally going over her shopping list. When she turned down the produce aisle and time stopped, Nathan was there standing right in front of her alone. No bodyguards, no suit. Just him in dark jeans and a white shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, holding an apple like the world depended on that choice. His eyes widened, hers froze. The air thickened, and for a moment, the grocery store disappeared. They weren't a billionaire and a single mother anymore. They were just Nathan and Emily again. Emily instinctively took a step back. The pain she buried for 7 years surged like a rising tide. Nathan, meanwhile, seemed to be searching for words, but silence spoke louder. "You followed me," she whispered without fully meeting his eyes. Nathan hesitated, yes, but not for revenge, for the truth. Emily looked away, her fingers trembled. She had always known this day would come, but she never imagined it would be between tomatoes and apples, surrounded by strangers, and a love that never truly died. "Is Jack my son?" he asked. There was no anger in his voice, only a desperate need for answers. Emily felt the ground vanish beneath her. You don't get to ask that now," she replied, her voice breaking. Nathan stepped closer, careful not to cross the space between them. "I don't know if I have the right Emily, but I need to try. I need to know him. I need to know both of you." She remained silent inside her. A storm, Jack. The truth, old wounds. And this man she once loved now standing before her, more vulnerable than ever. As she turned to leave, she looked over her shoulder and said, "Tomorrow 4, 6. The park across from the school, Just to talk." Nathan nodded, eyes glistening. The reunion had happened, but the real reckoning was yet to come. The park across from the school was quiet. That afternoon, big trees cast long shadows, and the sound of kids playing in the distance filled the air. It was the kind of place where real life happened, and that's where Nathan waited, nervous, humble, not like a tycoon, but like a man hoping for a second chance. Emily arrived on time, alone, her eyes squinting slightly against the sun, but steady. She didn't bring anger. She brought boundaries. Nathan stood the moment he saw her. "Thank you for coming. Say what you came to say," she replied, sitting on the old concrete bench, like someone preparing for emotional surgery. Nathan nodded. He looked at the ground, then at her. "I know about Jack. I'm sure now." Emily closed her eyes for a second. The secret she had carried for 7 years was no longer hers alone. It was now a shared weight. "I was trying to protect him, to protect you, to protect myself." Nathan leaned slightly forward. "Why did you leave, Emily?" I didn't understand back then. I spent years trying to hate you, but all I felt was your absence. Because you told me a week before everything that you never wanted to be a father," she said, her voice steady but soft. I panicked. I felt alone, small, in a world that was too big. "Your world," Nathan felt guilt hit him like a wave. He remembered that conversation. He remembered saying kids were a distraction, a risk, something that didn't fit in his 5-year plan. And now sitting across from him was the child he never knew he had. "I can't go back in time, Emily, but I can be here now. I want to be part of his life and yours. If you'll let me, I'm not demanding, I'm asking." Emily breathed deeply around them. Life continued, children laughing, leaves rustling, but between them, time stood still. "Jack doesn't know, but he feels it," he asks, "and he dreams about you without knowing who you are." She stood up and looked at him, not like a woman confronting a mistake, but like someone offering a choice. "Tomorrow at 10 a.m., same park he'll be playing. If you want to meet him, come gently." As a new beginning, Nathan nodded. Not like a billionaire, but like a man finally learning how to love right. The morning sun filtered through the trees, casting golden shapes on the ground. Nathan was already at the park, sitting on a bench, hands clasped tightly. Heart-pounding today wasn't about business. It wasn't about status. It was about becoming something he never thought he could be, a father across the park. Emily arrived with Jack. She knelt beside him and pointed discreetly to the man on the bench. "Remember the man from the photo? Today you're going to meet him just as a new friend." "Okay," Jack nodded, curious. Emily stayed back, letting the moment belong to them. Jack walked with small but confident steps. He stopped in front of Nathan, who stood up, holding back tears with a soft smile. "Hi, I'm Nathan," he said, kneeling to the boy's level. Jack looked him in the eyes. "You kinda look like me," he said. Nathan chuckled gently. "Yeah, I noticed that too." They sat side by side on the bench. Jack kicked his legs and talked about simple things. School dinosaurs. How good he was at building with Legos. Nathan listened like every word was gold. "Do you have kids?" Jack asked suddenly. Nathan swallowed hard. "No." "Not until today," Jack smiled innocently. "Then I guess I can be your first." Emily watched from a distance, tears in her eyes, not of pain, but of release. She was witnessing the man she once loved, becoming a father not by title, but by action. Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out the old photo he'd found weeks ago. "This was you, right?" "With my mom." Nathan took the picture with care, as if it was sacred. "Yeah. And even back then I didn't know it. but I already loved you both. When Jack ran off to the swings, Nathan sat there holding the photo. Emily walked over and sat beside him in silence. "He likes you," she said. Nathan replied without looking away from Jack. "He's the best part of both of us." She looked at him, and for the first time in years, she didn't see the man from the past. She saw the father of her child. "If you want, you can come tomorrow too." Nathan smiled. "If it's up to me, I'll come forever." Emily paced slowly through the living room. Jack was already asleep, and the house was quiet. But her mind wasn't after watching Nathan with Jack. Something had shifted inside her, or maybe something had awakened. In her hand, she held an envelope. Inside was Jack's birth certificate. The space next to father had been blank for 7 years. But now that emptiness was screaming to be filled, the phone rang. It was Nathan. "I don't want to pressure you," he said gently, "but if I could, I'd love to see you both again tomorrow." Emily closed her eyes. His voice was calm. "Softer change tomorrow." "Yes," she said. "But tonight, can I ask you something, anything?" "Don't give up if I hesitate. I'm trying for me, for Jack. For us, I'm not going anywhere." Nathan replied, "Not this time." That night, Emily pulled down a box from the top of the closet. Inside were the letters she had written to Nathan, but never sent letters full of fear. Love, anger, and longing. She read one out loud and cried for the first time. Without guilt, the next morning, she took Jack to the park. Nathan was already there holding a soccer ball. "Ready to play?" he asked. Jack shouted yes and ran straight to him. Emily sat on a bench nearby watching them laugh. Fallen hug it was, as if life itself was trying to make up for lost time. And for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt hope. Nathan ran over, sweaty and smiling like any other dad. He called me Dad without even realizing it. Emily smiled. Maybe his heart already knew. It was just waiting for you to catch up. He sat next to her but didn't ask for anything. He just offered, "I bought a house nearby." He said not to intrude, just to be close when, if you're ready. Emily looked at him steady. "Then let's do this right, no rushing. No running together." Nathan took her hand for the first time in years. There were no grand promises, no rehearsed speeches, just one quiet decision, the kind that changes everything. It had been a week since Nathan started spending mornings with Jack at the park and afternoons talking with Emily. Day by day, something real was forming. Not perfect, but true. But not everything from Nathan's past had been buried. One evening, Emily returned from work to find an envelope. Taped to her door inside were old newspaper clippings, documents from one of Nathan's shady business deals, and a handwritten note. "Do you really believe he's changed?" "Shaken," she called Nathan immediately. "Is there something I should know?" Nathan froze. He knew exactly what it was. A deal gone wrong years ago. Before Emily, before Jack. Back when he played dirty to win. That night they met at her place. Nathan brought a box of documents. "This was who I was. It's not who I am now. But I understand if this changes everything." Emily read through the papers. The facts were undeniable. But what moved her most wasn't the content. It was his posture. Nathan wasn't defending. He wasn't deflecting. He was simply being honest. "You were that man," she said. "Oh, yes," he replied. "And that's why I lost you once. That's why now I want to do it right. Even if I lose everything again." Emily said nothing for a long time. Then she stood up, took one of the sheets and tore it in half. "If we live looking backward, we'll never see what's right in front of us." The next morning, Nathan received another anonymous message. "She may forgive you, but the world won't." He turned off his phone for the first time. He didn't care about the world's approval. Only Jack's trust and Emily's gaze. Emily placed the rest of the documents in a box, labeled closed, not because she would forget, but because she refused to let fear run the future. That night, Nathan arrived for dinner and found Jack setting the table. "Tonight's pizza night. One seat for me and one for my dad." Emily stood in the kitchen watching. There were still ghosts, but there was love too. And sometimes love is louder. It was a sunny Friday afternoon when Jack came running out of school, holding a colorful piece of paper in his hands. Emily waited at the gate as always, but today his eyes sparkled with something extra. "Mom, there's a class performance next week." He beamed. "Every kid gets to invite 2 special guests. One has to be a family member." He paused nervously. "And I want it to be you and Nathan." Emily knelt in front of him, surprised. "Are you sure, sweetheart?" Jack nodded. "He calls me champ. And yesterday, he taught me how to swing without needing a push. That counts, right?" That night, Emily told Nathan. He didn't respond right away. Too moved to speak, "He chose you." She said softly, "He chose me without me deserving it." Nathan replied, "Now I just want to be worthy of it." On the day of the performance, the school auditorium was full of parents, laughter and handmade posters. Emily and Nathan arrived together. There were stares, curious, judging, indifferent, but none of them mattered. Not when Jack was at the front, holding 2 name tags made in marker. The teacher guided them to the second row. Jack's class would sing "You've Got a Friend in Me." Emily clasped her hands tightly. Nathan gently laid his hand over hers. A quiet "we're in this together." When Jack stepped onto the stage, wearing a t-shirt covered in crayon drawings, he scanned the crowd when he found them. He smiled and waved with both hands. The music began. Jack sang with heart, danced with joy, and ended with a surprise gesture. He pointed straight at them and said, "This song is for my mom and my dad." Emily's tears came instantly. Nathan's too. There in the middle of kids and applause, something sacred was born, a family after the show. Jack ran up and hugged them both at once. "Now you're my official team." "It's okay," Nathan laughed. Emily nodded yes. They were a team, and they were ready to win together. Autumn had arrived, scattering golden leaves across the sidewalks and wrapping the city in a soft sense of change. It felt like the world outside was mirroring what was happening in Emily's heart. Something was shifting for the better. Nathan was now part of their routine. He picked Jack up from school, helped with homework, told bedtime stories, not as a visitor, as someone who belonged. And Emily no longer knew where habit ended and love began. One Saturday morning, Nathan invited them both for a walk. They strolled to a small bookstore cafe, tucked on a quiet street there. Between the smell of coffee and the comfort of books, he handed Emily an envelope. "It's not a contract," he said with a soft smile. Inside was a drawing Jack had made, 3 stick figures holding hands. Above it, written in colorful letters, "My family." Emily held the paper to her chest. When she looked up, Nathan pulled a small box from his pocket. It wasn't a ring, it was a key. "It's the key to a new house. 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing." She stared at him, stunned. "You want us to live together?" "Not yet," he said. "Honestly, I just want you to know it's there waiting for when..." "If you're ready," Emily took the key. Not like someone accepting a gift, but like someone receiving trust. "You don't have to prove anything anymore, Nathan." But this says everything just then. Jack came running up with a book in hand. "Story time?" he asked. Nathan scooped him up. "There's story time." hot chocolate and dinner at the new place. If your mom says yes, Emily watched the two of them and felt something click inside, as if that key didn't just open a door, but her own heart. She stepped closer, took Nathan's hand and said, "If it's going to be, let it be true." Gentle and forever, Nathan didn't need to answer. He just smiled, because sometimes forever starts quietly. With a choice, winter arrived quietly, with cooler mornings and an endless supply of hot chocolate. The new house, the one that once was just a promise, now smelled like life. Emily and Jack started spending more time there. At first just weekends, then a few days during the week. Until one day there was no going back. They were already home. Jack picked the blue bedroom with dinosaur wallpaper. Nathan helped him build the bed frame. Emily filled the shelves with books, soft pillows and warmth. It was the first time Jack called a place, hours at night. They watched movies cuddled up on the couch. Nathan couldn't cook, but he tried. Emily laughed at his strange spice combinations, and Jack came up with names for the meals. The house was full of mistakes and all the right kinds of love. One Saturday, Emily placed a new frame on the bookshelf. It was the photo Jack had kept since he was a toddler, now updated with his drawing, hearts connecting all three of them. Nathan looked at the image and felt something settle deep inside. It wasn't about proving he'd changed. It was about being the man they deserved day after day. During dinner, Jack said something that stunned them both. "Now that we live together, can I call us the Carter Brooks family?" Nathan and Emily exchanged glances and smiled. "Of course you can, champ." After Jack went to bed, Emily and Nathan sat in silence, just listening to the house, the heater humming, the wind outside, and peace. Nathan whispered, "I spent so long looking for a home. Turns out it was what I let slip away." Emily took his hand. "Sometimes love leaves only to come back stronger." Nathan rested his forehead against hers. "I choose this every day and that night, with no fanfare or grand promises, just truth and presence." Three people who had once been lost found home in each other. It was the last day of school before winter break. Jack was bursting with excitement at the thought of more time with both of them. But Nathan had prepared something special, something words couldn't quite capture. When Emily walked into the bedroom, she found an envelope resting on her pillow. Inside was a blank sheet of paper and a yellow sticky note that read, "This was the empty space in my life. Now you can fill it however you want." At breakfast, Nathan brought out a hardcover book, custom made on the cover. "Our story, Jack helped me make it." Nathan said, "It's a blank book for us to write together. You, me, and him." Emily flipped through the pages. Inside were photos, drawings, ticket stubs, and notes. Small pieces of the life they were building. On the back cover, glued in with care, was a handwritten question. What if we wrote the next chapter? With the same last name. Emily looked up, stunned. Nathan knelt down, not with a ring, but with a golden bookmark in his hand. "So you never lose your place with us," he said softly. Jack watched from the kitchen doorway, smiling wide. "I want the same last name as you too." "Is that okay?" Emily cupped his face, tears in her eyes. "Of course it is." Later that day, they took a walk through the same park, where everything had started again. The bench was still there, but now it held something new, a complete family. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden light over the three of them. Nathan said, "This has been the best page of my life." Emily leaned in, kissed him softly, and whispered, "Then let's keep writing slowly, honestly, together." And the book gently closed, not as an ending, but as a new beginning. Because when love is true, the final page is never the end. It's just where forever begins.